Okay, if you have memorized the sequence of the cases, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, and vocative, in this order, the order is very important, you are ready to start studying the declensions. What are the declensions? The Latin nouns are divided in 5 declensions, meaning in groups that follow a specific kind of endings for the various cases. You will master this with practice. What is essential is that you study the ending in the sense, the various endings, in the sense that in order to be able to translate, to read the sentence in Latin, you have to look at the noun, see how it ends, what is the vowel or the syllable with which it ends. And with that, you can understand the function of that noun in the sentence, just as we saw before with the example of the sentence, a dog bites a man. So today you are studying the first declension, that is the one of the nouns ending in a. I will use the Latin pronunciation, so I'm not going to say a for this vowel, okay? I'm just reading it as you are supposed to read it in Latin, a. Let's take, for example, the noun rosa, which means rose. If you look in a dictionary, you will find rosa, rosae, F meaning feminine. Remember what we said, that you always have to memorize the gender, because nouns have gender in Latin. They can be either masculine, feminine, or neuter. The entry of the dictionary gives you the nominative ending and the genitive ending. The genitive is essential because it's the one that tells you to what declension does a noun pertains. The nouns of the first declension are those which have the genitive singular in I. Okay? So, how do you say rose in Latin? Rosa, rosae, feminine. Rosa, rosae, feminine. Okay, this is how you have to memorize it. Now, what does it mean? That rosa, when you find rosa ending with a, this is a nominative. If you find rosae, it is a genitive. Of course, the situation is a little more complicated because there are some endings that are the same. Let's look at the declension now, in the singular. The nominative is a, as we said. The genitive is I. The dative is I, like the genitive. The accusative is am. The ablative is a. The vocative is a. If you remember, we already mentioned that nominative and vocative are usually the same. They always have the same endings, except for the second declension. The difference between the a of the nominative and vocative and the a of the ablative is that the a of the ablative is long, meaning that should be pronounced twice as much as you should stay on it twice as much when you pronounce it. So if the nominative is rosa, the ablative is rosa, but it's not so important because we really cannot perfectly know how Latin was pronounced, as you know. So, rosa, rosae, rosae, rosam, rosa, rosa. This is to do an example, but what you have to memorize are really the endings. Rosa, rosae, rosae, rosam, rosa, rosa follow the endings of the first declension, a, I, am, a. Of course, you have to know that the first is nominative, the second is genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, vocative. So make sure that you know the sequence and then just repeat a, I, am, a, I, am, a, until you know it without even thinking about it. Okay? What does this mean? Rosa is the subject, like a rose is beautiful. Rosae, genitive, means of the rose. Rosae, dative, means to the rose or for the rose. Rosam is used when rose is a direct object. For example, I see a rose. Ablative is used for everything else, as we said. So by the rose, with the rose, from the rose. It depends on the context. Vocative is when I call it, for example, oh rose, and I say rosa. Exactly the same thing for the plural. The plural has just different endings. But as you can see, there are similarities in the sense that even in the plural, nominative and vocative have the same endings, I. The dative plural and the ablative plural are the same, is. The accusative plural is as, while the singular was am. The genitive plural is arum. So I, arum, is, as, is, I. If you take the noun rosa, you attach this ending to the stem. To create a stem, to get to the stem of a word, you have to cut the ending of the genitive. So remember what we said at the beginning. You go up here, okay? You find in the dictionary rosa, rosae. You know that I is the ending of the genitive. You cut the I and you get rose, that is the stem of the Latin word. And then you attach to the stem the endings. So rosae, okay? Rosarum, rosis, rosas, rosis, rosae. Once you have memorized the endings, you can just practice with any word of the first declension. For example, door. Door in Latin is porta, portae, feminine. Okay? And you do porta, portae, portae, portam, porta, porta. Portae, portarum, portis, portas, portis, portae. Okay? The first declension is pretty easy because most of the nouns of the first declensions are feminine, so it's easy to remember the gender. A few nouns are masculine, but are easy to remember because they are those indicating the professions, like nauta, which means sailor, or agricola, that means farmer, or poeta, that means poet. You will find these nouns in the vocabulary list. Here I wrote the three main ones, nauta, poeta, and agricola are masculine because, of course, these were professions of males and not of females in the Roman world. So apart from these few, though, you can be sure that all the other nouns are feminine, so the gender is easy to remember. An adjective agrees in gender, number, and case with the noun to which it refers. So if you want to say a beautiful girl in nominative, beautiful is pulchra, okay? You say puella pulcra, okay? But if you want to say of a beautiful girl, you put girl in genitive, puellae, but also pulcrae in genitive, okay? The feminine nouns, the feminine adjectives follow the first declension. If a noun is masculine, though, the adjectives follow the second declension. So you cannot say nauta pulcra. You will have to use a masculine form of the adjective because nauta is masculine, but we will see this in the next chapter. Do not worry about it. For the moment, you can just put adjectives next to feminine nouns. Okay? So memorize very well the endings, okay? Do not stop until you know, without even thinking, that you can say I, am, a. I, Aaron, is, as, is, I. Okay? And then practice with words. Porta, portai, portai, portam, porta, porta. Portai, portarum, portis, portas, portis, portai. Without looking at the endings. Okay?